On this episode, it's March Madness, and we're having a bracket challenge showdown between rides and attractions at Walt Disney World to see who comes out as the champ. Today's March 25th, 2025, and this is episode 757 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I'm your host, Jeremy Stein, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Rhonda.
Hey guys! Make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic, and on TikTok at MSM Podcast.
If you want to be part of the community and join the conversation, in addition to live streams from the parks and our weekly live show, head to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.
Planning a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World can be overwhelming and at times just downright frustrating. But don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service. Are you ready for your bucket list trip? Our trusted partner, MEI Travel, will handle the planning so you can focus on the memories. They offer free vacation planning services and have nearly 20 years of experience creating memorable vacations. Visit mainstmagic.com/travel for a fee-free, no-obligation quote today.
Well, happy March Madness, everybody. And those of you who had spring break, our kids, it is over.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody had a great spring break.
It was a long spring break, I feel like. It's been a long week for some reason. I don't know why. It just has. Our week was thrown off because we didn't get back till late on Monday from our trip last weekend. You can go back and listen to those two last episodes. So every day I was confused as to what day
And then I
it
worked
was.
a lot more than I normally do.
You worked Friday, you never work. You work Saturday, you don't normally work. So today is Sunday, correct?
Correct.
All right. So we're not going to make any today predictions on March Madness. The first 3 days are down.
100%.
We got today, but we're going to have our own little March Madness. We do this every year. And we usually do a couple of them. So we're going to do today, we're going to focus on rides and attractions. And then next episode, we're actually going to focus on table service dining. So the sit-down dining.
These are always fun.
These are fun. And so what we've done with this is to make it, I guess, unbiased, because we don't want to pick the rides and the seating and all, because you know, they need to be determined technically kind of by a committee. Our committee is ChatGPT. So we went into ChatGPT and we gave it basically like 5 criteria for it to scour the internet, the cloud. I think it goes to space or something. I'm not sure. And it basically spit everything back. Okay. Now, we made a few adjustments on our own because ChatGPT was unaware of maybe some ride closures, such as Test Track. And so Test Track isn't in the dance, right?
Right.
It's like they didn't make it because, I don't know, their best player's hurt or something. Yeah. So so what we had ChatGPT look at was the popularity of the ride. So that factors in kind of the average wait times, the demand for lightning lanes, and just kind of that general hype factor.
Nice.
Theming and immersion. So the storytelling, the design detail, we did that most immersive ride episode.
Yeah,
that's where this one goes. Innovation and ride technology. So you got to think of use of the cutting edge systems, things that are maybe new, that are cutting edge, broad appeal, what does everybody kind of think and who can ride it? It's very different if you take just a rock and roller coaster or an Everest that has height restrictions. You have to look at the broad picture, and then overall is guest satisfaction, which will be our satisfaction. Is it a ride that we love more than the one it's going up against, basically?
Okay.
So we're going to select kind of based on all of this criteria moving forward. So first,
what happens if we don't agree?
If we don't agree, then the podcast is over. No, we're going to try not to flip coins today. We're going to try to sway one or the other.
Okay.
So we'll basically, if we both pick a different ride, it goes into overtime.
Okay.
And then we have that time to sway one or the other into making
that's kind of cool
that
the way
pick,
you just did that. Yeah,
so
I like
just
that.
came up with that.
That's cool.
All right.
That's really cool.
We got 4 brackets. We got Magic Kingdom, of course, EPCOT, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
basically on the left side of the full bracket, and this will be in the show notes, and I'll post it out on social, will be Magic Kingdom and Epcot, and then Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom on the other side. For our Magic Kingdom region, we have number 8, Space Mountain. Number 7, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Number 6, Jungle Cruise. Number 5, Peter Pan's Flight. Number 4, Pirates of the Caribbean. Coming in as our 3 seed, it was the 2022 champ, Haunted Mansion. Number 2 seed, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And, of course, number 1 is Tron Light Cycle Run. Rhonda, why don't you break down the 8 seeds for our Epcot region?
Okay, so number 8, we have Grand Fiesta Tour, starring 3 Caballeros. 7, Mission Space. I'm assuming that's both sides. 6, Spaceship Earth. 5, Living with the Land. 4, Soarin' Around the World. 3, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. 2, Frozen Ever After. And, of course, number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
All right, legitimate, is it Ratatouille or Rat-Tat-Touille? So many people say Rat-Tat-Touille, and they really go on those T's. We say Ratatouille. Is that not how it's... That's how they say
Tomato,
it in the movie.
tomato?
I don't know, though, because in the movie, he says Ratatouille.
Okay.
It sounds like rat in patooey, right? There's no rat-a-tat-tat. That's like the sound a machine gun, I feel like, would make in a comic book, right?
That's awesome.
So
I love that part when he's kind of drinking and he's like, it sounds like a rat.
Yeah, he was hitting the red wine hard on that part.
It was so funny.
All right, let's move on to our Hollywood Studios region. We're going to go with number 8, Alien Swirling Saucers. Number 7, Rock and Roller Coaster. Number 6, Toy Story Mania. Number 5, Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run. Number 4 is Tower of Terror. Number 3, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Number 2 is Slinky Dog Dash. Probably to no one's surprise, number 1 is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance.
That's a good seating. Like all that is good.
Yeah, that one I think really came out well with the seating. So, I mean, I guess technically, if you are a computer that is able to go out and read all of the interwebs in a moment's notice, you're probably going to have some knowledge. So why don't you break down the 8 seeds before we get into our actual games here?
A good lineup. That's what I was. That's what I was. My word, I was going for. Number 8 at Animal Kingdom is the Wildlife Express Train. Number 7 is your Festival of the Lion King. Number 6 is Cali River Rapids. Number 5 is Dinosaur. Number 4 is Navi River Journey. Number 3 is Kilimanjaro Safaris. Number 2 is Expedition Everest. And of course, number 1 is Avatar Flight of Passage.
So Animal Kingdom's always a little tough because there are not a lot of rides, you know?
No, and with the closure of Tops.
Yeah, Triceratops Spin.
Everything.
That whole Dinoland area there.
Except dinosaurs.
So ChatGPT actually had number 7 as Triceratops Spin. Since there's really not a lot of other rides there, we had to swap that out for a Festival of the Lion King, and we had to do a show.
Curious about that because I was like, wait, that's reading it. My brain was thinking, this is the first show that I've ridden.
Right.
I mean, read.
Yeah.
So, and that, okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of our swap there. So when we think about Festival of the Lion King and their game, I don't know, just go, wee, pretend it's a ride. I don't know. So that's all I can say for that one. But all right, up first, our very first game will be number 1 seed Tron Light Cycle Run versus the number 8 seed Space Mountain. They're neighbors. This is kind of Duke UNC with being close.
Space
and honestly,
Mountain to go to Tron.
This year, it really is Duke UNC because obviously Tron is the better ride. Mm-hmm. So we'll go with Tron, I think. All right, we'll go with Tron on that one. All right, next we're going to move on to our number 4, Pirates of the Caribbean versus number 5, Peter Pan's Flight. Peter Pan's Flight is, I don't know, it's one of those like blue blood teams that it's going to be in there. It's going to be kind of higher in seeds every year because of its popularity for whatever
that's true.
reason.
Well, and anybody can ride it.
Anybody can ride that.
So can Pirates, correct?
Anybody can ride Pirates or Peter Pan's Flight. So really, we come down to looking at the theming, the immersion, ride technologies, things like that. And then, of course, our own love for the ride does count. That's one of the major criteria. Mm-hmm. So out of the 2, which one would you go with?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think many people are going to argue on that one. It's so funny because...
I would understand on some because it is dark and it does have a thrill drop.
Yeah, it does in Pirates.
And Peter Pan is dark, but it doesn't have anything like that.
What I think is so crazy is the allure of Peter Pan's flight and the fact that it always has some of the longest wait times, yet somehow it's not like it has all this merch surrounding it. It's not like it has all this hype around it. It's not, you know what I mean?
That's
it's
true.
so weird.
That's
it's kind of this dark horse all the time. And it's just odd. You know, if it had merchandise left and right, you know, and it had, again, just all these, like, nobody really is rope dropping Peter Pan's flight. You know, they're probably taking the use of a lightning lane or something, yet it's always busy and crazy. It's just kind of one of those weird ones. All right, number 3. Now, we have not done this in 2 years. In 2023, this was our reigning champion. Number 3, Haunted Mansion versus number 6, Jungle Cruise. And I hate this matchup. Somehow it ends up every year that we do this. I swear these two go against each other in the first round. It's not fair.
Why? Because you want to pick
I love both of them.
Jungle?
I love both of them. But again, start to break down that criteria.
Right.
What would you go with based on everything? Haunted Mansion or Jungle Cruise? You're going with
Mansion.
Haunted? I have to agree in the end. When you really look at the full story and kind of the lore and everything around it, I know we have some with Jungle Cruise, a lot with Jungle Cruise, but it's just, I feel like not as out in the open as something like Haunted Mansion is. And for me, what takes Haunted Mansion over the edge is kind of the buzzer beater is Grim Grinning Ghosts.
Yeah.
It is the best attraction song, in my opinion, of any attraction I've ever rode.
Okay.
You know, so we're going to move on. Haunted. All right. Now we are getting into our number 2 seed, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train versus number 7 seed, is a little bit higher probably, but Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Where would you go with these two? Because I think this is an interesting matchup for us when we look at the criteria. Right off the top, which one do you like more?
Tiana's.
Same. Okay. Let's look at popularity. Seven Dwarfs is potentially going to win that. Well, it has a lightning lane single pass.
Okay.
Tiana's does not.
Not anymore.
Huh?
Remember
Tiana's opened under multi-pass.
That's right.
And virtual queue, which I thought was surprising. Yeah, it never was a single pass. Your theming, immersion, you know what? Anybody can say what they will about Tiana's. They can act like it doesn't tell a story, that it doesn't immerse you in there. I think those are the people that already had to stick up their butt before they got on it in the first place. I think it lays out a story. Maybe it's not as good as it could be, but it does.
Right.
It gives you a reason for everything throughout the ride.
Yes, it does.
When you shrink down, when you come back up to regular size, why you're on this Bayou Adventure. Broad appeal. I mean, that's tough because, you know, I think here's where I'm going to really go. Payoff. If you waited an hour for Tiana's versus an hour for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train,
I'd be happy if I waited an hour for Tiana's and the ride was the way it was.
Yeah.
And then
you're going to be a little
right.
Like you felt like you know, really? I waited an hour for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and it's over
right.
in like 90 seconds or whatever it may be. You feel a little gypped. So we're agreeing with Tiana's?
I would, yes.
All right. Pretty good upset there. All right. That is it for our Magic Kingdom bracket. So next we are going to move into our EPCOT bracket. We're going with the number 1 seed Cosmic Rewind versus the number 8 seed Three Birds. Grand Fiesta Tour.
Oh, Three Birds. Like,
yes. Grand Fiesta Tour and the Three Birds. That's what I'm going to call it from now.
And it's funny because we just rewrote it after they refurbed it. And it was nice, but I was like, there was not one thing that I was like, oh, okay, they did refurb that. Yeah, except possibly
it felt fresher, and it had a kid with his head turned the wrong way.
Oh, that was super weird.
Yeah, and I just call it the Small World area. Yeah, there was a little doll kid with his head fully faced the other way, like The Exorcist or something. It was a
little creepy.
And we looked; he does have a face.
Yes, he does.
You know, unlike what we think Spaceship Earth Paperboy. We're pretty sure he is a faceless man.
But yeah, I'm gonna say But like I said, the only thing I was thinking is the fireworks at the end might have been.
They seemed like they got a little. Everything did just seem a little refreshed.
Yeah.
It seemed like there was a lot of, and I don't know what they did, but a lot of repainting. And I think the fireworks at the end seemed brighter.
And maybe all of them were working.
All of them were working,
they weren't
and
before,
you really heard the sound of the fireworks,
Yeah.
which I feel like in the past was a bit muffled,
and
it wasn't as much the star of the show. So Cosmic Rewind obviously is moving on.
Of course.
Next, we're going to go to our number 4 seed, Soaring Around the World, versus our number 5 seed, Living with the Land.
Ooh, that's a hard one for me.
A very interesting one. If you look at popularity, I don't really know that you can say one is more popular than the other, because Soarin', I think, has an overall popularity with the average guest. Right? The people that are going, they go once a year, every couple of years, it's their first trip. Soarin' is the one that they want to make sure they ride. Living with the Land, on the other hand, has a very, I guess, like niche popularity amongst locals and very frequent visitors. It kind of has its own, it's almost like its own little cult with Living with the Land. We love it. We ride it almost every chance we can that we're at EPCOT. So who wins in this one, Soarin' or Living with the Land for you?
I think I'm going to say Living with the Land.
You know what? I am actually going to agree.
Oh.
The recent updates to Soarin', most with, obviously the Eiffel Tower now being pretty straight.
Yeah. And also, even EPCOT.
Yeah, EPCOT with the new updates. But here's still, I think, crooked or non-crooked Eiffel Tower aside, Soarin' can be somewhat determined in your enjoyment based on where you are. If you are in the A and maybe the front row on the far, far outside, it is definitely a different ride than if you're in the B group, you know what I mean? Like second row or something dead in the middle. It really is different in that manner. Whereas Living with the Land, you're going to get whatever you want. Yeah, you're going to get the same experience no matter where you sit.
Well, and for me, if I don't have a patch on, every single time the fireworks start.
In Soarin'?
I have to close my eyes. But in Living with the Land, I do not.
Yeah. And I mean, if you want to talk Living with the Land and you want to go back to popularity, it has the rideability.
Oh, 100%.
Now, the festival going on, they 100%. Have all these things for Flower and Garden.
It's funny you say that because I actually was just telling my client she's going. And I cannot wait to talk to her when she gets back, because she hasn't been, I think she said, in like 25 years.
To Disney at all?
Correct.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And she's
tell her there was a change or two?
Oh, yeah. And I told her, and she goes, I won't wait in lines. And I'm like, oh, God, I can't wait to talk to her. But
can we get commission on Premier Pass? Because let's sell her Premier Pass.
It was super funny because she did mention Living with the Land. And I was like, I love that ride. I said, it's always actually different, too, depending on the festival. Yeah. And I told her when she rides, she'll see a lot of the plants that are actually done through being used. Yeah. So it was just really cool because she said something about riding that. And I was like, that she should be able to get on. Yeah. Not a problem, hopefully.
Well, and and then you have Christmas, of course, it does the overlay.
Yeah,
but also
I love that.
Well, you can look at accessibility. If you wake up and say in the morning and say, we're going to EPCOT, and in the middle of the day, I want to ride Living with the Land and not have a bad wait, you're set. Mm-hmm. If you say, I want to ride Soarin' and not have a bad wait, and you haven't prepared with a lightning lane or anything, you're probably going to look at a decent wait. Yeah. So the accessibility is much greater on Living. All right, next we're going with our number 3 seed, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, versus number 6, the very classic Spaceship Earth. That one is, it's hard, but it's easy. It's hard, but it's easy.
Well, okay, then I'm going to let you go first. What's your hard but easy?
Well, if we base it off the 5 criteria, Remy's wins.
Okay.
And you can look at these criteria of, okay, which team at the end of the game has more rebounds? Which one has a better, turnover to assist ratio?
Okay.
Which team shot threes better? Which team shot free throws better? Remy does all those things.
Right.
Spaceship Earth, for me, has a love for Spaceship Earth.
Okay.
I can't ride Spaceship Earth without thinking of Lacey, because she used to want to ride it every single time we went. So there is a lot of nostalgia. There's memories and all. But we kind of got to put those aside. You know, if I pick Spaceship Earth, that's like me picking Duke to win the title every single year.
You do, though.
I know, right. And how many times have I been right? 5 in the past 30 years, which is 35, 40 years probably, which is pretty good. But I'm not going to go with that.
You're not.
I'm not going to go with just because of that. I have to go with the stats. And in the stats, at the end, the scoreboard is going to read Remy's is on top for me.
Even if I have to close my eyes through most of it?
Well, you can, if we're going to overtime, if you're going to pick Spaceship Earth, we go into overtime. I mean, we can try and sway each other one way or the other, which is fine. You know, I just, again, if we're going to talk criteria,
right, that's fine.
I think that's what we need to really focus on.
And once
so
if I put a patch on,
yeah,
I can watch the entire thing.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I think Remy's has, it probably isn't going to win the whole thing, but it has a good shot of advancing past even this round, I think. So we'll go with Remy's.
Okay.
All right. Our last matchup in the EPCOT region will be number 2 seed Frozen Ever After versus the number 7 seed Mission Space. You can choose the chill side or the barf side. Whichever one you want is fine.
I'm going to go Frozen Ever After.
I'm going to go with Frozen Ever After. And this, you know, you could honestly, I would pick any of the other, I know this was a 7 seed, but I would pick any of the other 7 teams in this bracket to beat Mission Space, because the fact is the green side it's an awful attraction. It's absolutely awful. There are no redeeming factors whatsoever outside maybe of the pre-show. Get you kind of hyped. Like, this is going to be cool. I'm going to experience what astronauts experience. Now, green side is a little bit different, but you got to worry about that sick factor and who it's going to make sick or not.
Yeah.
So, but once you get into the ride, especially on the green side, it is awful.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the worst ride in Walt Disney World, the orange side. So
they should just take it out. What should they do with it?
Man,
what could they do with it?
I don't know.
Take out both sides.
Well, you really need to turn that whole, I know it is Mission Space, so you could keep something of the space theme, but you still have the Wonders of Life Pavilion back there, and it's so dependent on me to what they do with that. You know, you got Space 220, you currently have Mission Space, you got Guardians, Cosmic Rewind. It is all space right now. Right. So whatever you were to replace it with, I think has to be in some way space themed. Yeah, just make it good. So just
do it.
Honestly, if they went back, I just call it the Lieutenant Dan version. If you went back to that was a much more enjoyable ride.
Right.
You know, you went to Mars, like it was pretty good.
Right.
Now it just slingshots you around the Earth, and you know it's like, look, there's Paris. Where? Oh, it's gone. You know, there's Aurora Borealis. Oh, it's gone. Or the Northern Lights or whatever. Oh, it's gone. You know. It stinks. I know we picked Frozen anyway. All right, let's move over to our Hollywood region. Number 1, Rise of the Resistance versus number 8, the little swirling saucers that are pulled by aliens.
Well, obviously, Rise of the Resistance.
There's
such
no
a great there.
And that's nothing against alien swirling saucers.
No, not
honestly.
at all. That whole ride is just incredible.
It's amazing.
I mean, from beginning to end.
Yeah. And for me,
like even walking through, I feel like getting into the queue. Yeah. So
for me, from the moment you enter the queue to the moment you exit the ride, it is the most complete ride that I've ever been on. What I'm very, very interested to see is Epic Universe and Monsters Unchained, because I have a feeling it is taking the throne by a long shot based on the things that I have seen and heard. So we're going to go with Rise of the Resistance. Next up, we have number 4 seed Tower of Terror versus number 5 Smuggler's Run. You know, I'll put Smuggler's Run exactly where Mission Space is. It's great in theory. It's not the best in execution.
I agree. I'll take Tower over it 100%.
Any day of the week.
Yep.
Now, next, in May of 2026, when they are going to change Smuggler's Run, and we're going to get Grogu and Mandalorian.
Right. That's right.
I'm very interested to see if they do anything with updating the controls a little bit. When you look at the pilots, that's where it comes down to. It comes down to who your pilots are.
Correct.
It's, if you have a 6-year-old in there, it's probably their fault. But let's be honest. Those controls are so sensitive that it takes you 3/4 of the ride to even understand how much you got to pull left or right, up or down. Mm-hmm. If they can take, and maybe, I don't know, Millennium Falcon, maybe it's really that sensitive, but let's make this able to be used by anyone. Let's put it more in a gaming mode that is, all ages.
Yeah.
The one I always think of that we used to love playing was any of the Lego games because we felt like we could actually beat them. Mm-hmm. Whereas I used to play like Batman Arkham Asylum, and I'm like, I'm never beating Bane. I could never get past Bane.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then I'd have to like look up codes or look up, what you're supposed. And it's like I don't want to do all that.
Right.
So we are definitely taking Tower of Terror. Next, our number 3 seed, Runaway Railway. This is a very interesting one versus number 6, Toy Story Mania, because I know how much you love Toy Story Mania. I do too. You've got a ton of rewritability.
Yeah.
You have gamification.
I'm picking Toy Story. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking at the criteria. If
this needs to go in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, under popularity, they're pretty dang close. Right?
Yeah, the only reason popularity Mickey's Runaway is because it's newer, that's all.
It is. And it's as soon as you enter the park, right?
Right.
And it's Mickey and Minnie.
Correct.
Theming and immersion, I would have to give to Runaway Railway. Overall, I think the theming and full immersion is better.
What, because of the pre-show?
Partly pre-show and partly when you're on that ride. It kind of makes you forget everything else. Whereas on Toy Story, I'm like, am I ever going to be able to use this arm again? I got to think about that.
Whatever.
Innovation, ride technology. I do think you can't look at today's innovation with Toy Story Mania. What the innovation in the technology was when it first came out was incredible, right? This 3D gamified. Every ride is different based on, who you're playing, what you're shooting, so when you look at that, it's incredible. When you look at Runaway Railway, trackless rides are very impressive to me.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of them now.
Yeah.
And more seem to be coming. Again, broad appeal, I think really goes both ways. So I think it really comes down to which one you and I prefer. And I think we both agree with Toy Story Mania, right?
I do.
Okay.
100%.
I'm with you. I'm
okay.
With you.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm like, are you with me though?
Here's another very interesting matchup. We got number 2, Slinky Dog Dash versus number 7, Rock and Roller Coaster. This could be Rock and Roller Coaster's last season, right?
Yeah.
All their seniors are going on. They're moving on, right? It's their senior year, and they just decided let's not have a team next year. We'll see when it turns to Muppets Mayhem, where it might fall. But right now, we got to go by the current ride. So Slinky Dog Dash versus Rock and Roller Coaster. What are you thinking overall based on our criteria?
I'm thinking Rock and Roller Coaster, actually.
Are you? Okay.
I am because, the difference would be, I think, like younger, because it's a Rockin', they
both have height restrictions.
Right, but I think Slinky is probably what I would think would be...
Rockin' is 79 inches.
And Slinky's 50.
Slinky Dog Dash is 50. So...
So because you can have a younger child ride
on Slinky,
but that's
that opens up the broad appeal.
It does. But
innovation in ride technology. I think the real innovation with Rock and Roller Coaster is putting it inside, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But Slinky Dog, when you look at that second launch, I think, and you look at the theming of it, and there are things to see while you're riding it. I know there is with Rockin', but there's not that much. You're listening to the music, you're enjoying it. I think I have to select Slinky Dog Dash. You going with Rockin'? You're welcome to persuade me. I don't know that it'll take much. What makes you want to select Rock and Roller Coaster over Slinky Dog Dash? Does it come down to your overall appeal?
Well, because it's so fun. It's inside. It's in the dark. You start out like just a shot out of the dark.
Yep.
And then it's just this fun, fast-going roller coaster. Whereas Slinky's fun, and to me, it's not considered a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's much more of a family. It's a family roller coaster. It's kind of like my first roller coaster. I know that'd probably be Barnstormer, but
still, because it kind of goes, and then you get to where, this is getting good, and then you stop.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, well, let's back up because he's slinking,
Yeah.
and then and it's cute for kids, but for
I will
me,
say,
that's where I just feel rocking more.
Here's what I'll say. The first half of Slinky is leaps and bounds better than the second half after that launch.
Absolutely.
So I'll put that in there. I'll also say, while Slinky wins on popularity, when you look at the broad appeal, I think you can also put in accessibility, like we were talking about with Living with the Land. Rockin' wins on accessibility. It really does. I think you have a better shot of riding Rockin', of securing a lightning lane or whatever it may be, rope dropping it, than you do with Slinky Dog Dash. So I will go with you, and we'll take Rockin' Roller Coaster for actually a pretty big upset, number 7 over 2 seed. Moving on to our Animal Kingdom bracket, we got number 1 Flight of Passage versus number 8 Wildlife Express Train.
Flight of Passage,
definitely.
And that's the train that goes to Rafiki's Planet, correct?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure I was correct with my thought process.
A lot of people don't even know it exists, to be honest.
I know, it's crazy.
You know, one of those things, like same thing here, we're looking at, you know, what is available, what's not available with Dinoland closing. When we're doing Main Street 16 Challenge weekend, which is going to be in May, go to mainstreet16.com. A lot of info coming out. We got some really cool additional info coming out about the room bookings here this week. We had to include Wildlife Express Train when we go to make those picks. You know, wonderful Gary, who handles all of the ride stuff and the challenge stuff. You know, he breaks down these pods for each park, and we select from them to see what the 4 rides per park are. We're going to do that on April 10th during our Small World Challenge day. Ron and I are going to ride Small World for 10 hours straight. Try not to kill each other. So Wildlife Express has to go in there, but it has to go in there because it has to go in there. It's technically a ride, and that's what it's great. It's
cute, but
I love
crazy.
the way you face outwards.
I do too.
Right? That part is cool, but obviously Flight of Passage is taking that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to number 4. I think this is another interesting matchup. Navi River Journey versus, we got it for the rest of the year at least, number 5, Dinosaur. What would your selection be with Navi versus Dinosaur?
I'm going to say Navi. Excuse me, Dinosaur. Sorry.
I have to, well, you see, I'm trying to keep my personal opinion out of the main part.
Okay.
I do think that obviously it is the more popular ride, but it is the still newer ride out of the 2. It is the more well-known ride. It is the ride. Look,
Navi.
You're already in there for Flight of Passage.
Yeah.
So you're going to try and ride Navi. You know, the theming and immersion, honestly, it could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when you look at ride technology, again, let's go back to when Dinosaur opened. That ride technology is very impressive. Mm-hmm. Navi is a boat.
Right.
You know, now,
correct.
I do think some of the use of 3D mapping that they use in there is really, really impressive, but I don't know if it's enough. Broad appeal obviously goes to Navi, but our own guest satisfaction, you know, if you said, which would you rather ride, Dinosaur or Navi? I'm going to pick Dinosaur. So that's going to move on. Nice. All right. Number 3, Kilimanjaro Safari versus number 6, Cali River Rapids. I know your pick. You're not a big fan of Cali River Rapids.
No.
Okay. So
and
you're
then,
going,
yes,
you're going with
I'm
Kilimanjaro.
like, right, but I had to think about it because I don't mind it, and I would ride it. I would totally ride it in the heat of summer.
Yeah.
If I feel like the right clothes on and everything. It's just hard for me because I feel like it's a ride that you only ride like during a certain time of year. Yeah. I would never pick when it's cooler out ever. And then, I mean, like the few times like Lacey wanted to ride it.
Yeah, I rode it with her.
And she was there and it was cooler, but it wasn't freezing that day.
Yeah.
And you did ride it with her. And I'm like, if I get wet, and I would get wet.
Yeah.
I'd be the one to get wet because then I would be miserable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I have to go, I mean, with Kilimanjaro. If Cali, I'm going simply by payoff. You know, if you waited an hour for Kilimanjaro versus an hour for Cali River Rapids, which one are you going to get off and be like, I just got ripped off? You're going to Cali.
Yeah.
If it was twice as long, it could be a different story.
Yeah, but you got animals on Kilimanjaro, and I mean, young kids.
100%. Yeah, everybody's going to love Kilimanjaro. You know, and you got while you do get not quite the Jungle Cruise level of change up, you know, depending on who your driver is and your tour guide, but you do get some. Yeah. Their personalities have an opportunity to shine through, even if they're telling you some of the same factual information.
Correct.
All right, going to move on to number 2, Expedition Everest versus our only show, number 7, Festival of the Lion King. You know what I'm picking. I love Expedition Everest.
And that's fine. I will too.
It's one of my favorite rides. It just is.
You're cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would pick but I also think that's not fair because Festival is not a lot ride, so
yeah, I know, but we gotta put something in. So
I know.
Just sit in the stands and say we. Just we. Props to Geico for pulling out this little pig, weeing all the way home commercial from. I got to look up what year that was from, but it's still in 4:3 format. It's not even a widescreen format. That's how old it is. Yeah. Right.
Maxwell, you're home. Thanks, Mrs. A.
It is a great commercial.
Like so funny. Yeah.
I love it. All right, we are back over to Magic Kingdom. We're down to 16 teams, air quotes. We're going number 1, Tron, versus number 4, Pirates of the Caribbean. Where would you go on that?
That's hard.
Here, you know, I keep going back to payoff.
Right.
You know, first of all, you're not again, spring breaks and Christmas, Thanksgiving, July 4th, you might wait an hour and stand by for Pirates.
Right.
On a normal day, you're not. Right? So let's just say you're waiting 30 minutes for Pirates, or in standby, you're waiting an hour and a half for Tron. While Tron is the superior ride in many ways, you know, in the end, which one do you feel better about? 30 minutes and waiting for Pirates, which is 14 minutes long? Or waiting for Tron, which I believe is under 90 seconds or so long. And you got to remember, there's a big difference between popularity and satisfaction.
All right.
You know, Pirates is extremely popular, of course.
Yeah.
Everybody pretty much is going to walk out of that satisfied.
Yeah.
I don't know that they are with Tron, is the hard part.
Yeah.
What was your initial pick? You're going with Tron?
I think, but then now that I think about it, like, you know, anytime we walk into Magic now, there's like, I think like if the wait's not awful, I'd love to ride Haunted and Haunted and Pirates.
We do it almost every time.
Yeah. So
Tron does have a single pass, so obviously again, you know, the demand is truly there. You know, but then I think, all right, 20 years from now, you know, which is going to have a lasting impression? I still feel like it's Pirates, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Tron becomes kind of just another ride, a great ride at that. I love Tron.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I hate that it's short, but I don't feel gypped when I get off. But
no.
It's Pirates of the Caribbean,
yeah.
Man. I think there's something to be
All
said.
right.
So, big upset. Our first 1 seed is taken down. All right, let's move on to our number 3 seed, Haunted Mansion, versus number 7 seed, Tiana's. This was always interesting to me, too,
hard.
when it was Splash Mountain. You know, when you have to look at those two together, like, man.
I want to pick Haunted personally. So that's where I don't know what, like, if you need to pull out the 5 things and then, like, I don't know.
Again, popularity is very hard to go by with Tiana's being, you know, just less than a year old. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's extremely popular. Mm-hmm. Once they dropped the virtual queue, though, I don't think wait times have been nearly as bad as people suspected for.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I don't know, because we haven't, like, the last time we were there, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I look at them occasionally to kind of see. So I'm kind of thinking about that. I mean, I think I have to go down to every little detail from queue to story to outside, even, you know, as you walk up to the rides, to I just every, you know, music again. Mm-hmm. This is a good one to compare music. Haunted is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And it has so much around, like, Haunted is just its own beast.
Yeah.
Haunted is a franchise.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, Tiana's, they just canceled the Disney Plus series. that they were working on. So, and I don't know that we're going to get a sequel or anything. So really, Tiana's has to live with Princess and the Frog and through Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Haunted Mansion lives through, and Tiana's has some good merch, but it is so Bayou specific. It's very specific to the ride.
Correct.
Whereas Haunted, I feel like, is this general just merchandise that you just want everything. And you don't even have to wear it out and know that it, like, somebody has to know that it's Haunted Mansion related. Like, if you know, you do know. Like, but it doesn't have to be in your face. It doesn't have to say, I'm Haunted Mansion. Right?
Right.
Yeah. And then it's got, 2 movies, right? Which both of them we really enjoy.
Oh, the second one is so good.
I mean, think about as you walk through Liberty Square and you start to approach Haunted Mansion.
I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to do it in Disneyland.
I know. So we're going Haunted, aren't we?
Yeah,
all right.
We are.
I think that's fair. I don't think too many people would be upset. Tiana would be upset. Don't tell her. Still my favorite. We're going to go down to the EPCOT region, and we're going number 1, Cosmic Rewind, versus number 5, Living with the Land.
See, this is where it's like Drake. Drake won the one.
You knew Drake wasn't going on. You knew Living wasn't going on.
They probably weren't going on. Yeah. Cosmic is going on. Sorry, Living.
I know. We'll pick Cosmic.
We'll ride you next time.
It still might be my favorite ride overall. Just
Cosmic?
Again. Yeah, my favorite just ride overall. Take out all the other stuff we keep talking about.
Right.
Take out cues and music, all that stuff. That is so fun. I can't ride that without coming off and my mouth is dry and my teeth hurt because my face is so wide open and smiling the whole time that air is just whipping into it. All right, we're going to move on to number 3, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure for some of y'all. Versus number 2, Frozen Ever After.
Frozen.
You're going Frozen.
Yeah.
I prefer Frozen. I really... the more I ride Remy's, I actually get more and more appreciation for it.
Okay.
I don't know why, I just do. And this last time we rode, I was really looking around at everything, like trying to take in the way it moves and takes you from scene to scene. But I do think in the end, you really got to look at the fact that, Frozen sees wait times all the time, no matter what.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Remy's, we were catching it. You remember that one day at 45 minutes, even a few hours into the day.
We walked into it saying 45, and it was like a 30-minute wait, I believe.
And I'm sorry, but the Frozen queue,
I love it,
is one of the best around.
I love it.
I know it's short inside, but it is absolutely incredible. So I think we are agreed to move on with Frozen. Let's go over to our Hollywood Studios bracket. Our last 4 teams here. We got number 1, Rise of the Resistance, versus number 4, Tower of Terror. That is a very hard one for me.
Oh, I bet.
Only because of the fact that I love Tower of Terror more than anything. But we got to go to criteria.
Yeah.
Rise overly is more popular. The theming and immersion of Rise is second to none. Like you said, from the moment you enter the queue.
Right.
Honestly, from the moment you enter Galaxy's Edge.
That's true.
Where this ride starts if you're heading towards it. Innovation and ride technology.
Come on.
You get on like 87 different ride vehicles.
I know. And what's really cool too is going back to speaking of walking into Galaxy's Edge, and then you do see like the queue, and let's be honest, but once you ride it, like when you really see the queue, like it's kind of like, holy crap, where is everything?
I know.
Like it is crazy.
It really is. It's absolutely amazing. All right, so Rise is definitely moving on.
I think so.
Another 1 seed heading to the Elite 8. Next, we got number 6, Toy Story Mania, versus number 7, Rock and Roller Coaster. That is a hard one.
Not for me.
Honest. I know it's not for you. You love Toy Story Mania.
I do.
So much.
I want to ride it.
I'm going to...
You could sway me, though, I feel like. So whatever you really wholeheartedly think, I will
My
probably...
gut wants to pick Rockin'.
Okay.
But... I do have to look at the fact that it may not be around next year.
But it's still going to be a similar ride, correct?
It is. It's going to be the same ride. It's just going to be completely reskinned, basically, with Muppets Mayhem. But they are making a change.
Okay.
Right? So they are having to change it.
Okay.
Toy Story Mania, the biggest change has been its name, was Midway Mania. And... they moved the entrance from one side to the other when they built Toy Story Land, right? But rideability, accessibility, and the broad appeal that any age can technically ride. I mean, you can put a baby on your lap, right?
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Can't quite do that at Rockin'. They're going to say no. So I'm actually okay moving on Toy Story Mania with that one.
Okay.
All right, we'll move down to our Animal Kingdom bracket. We got number 1, Flight of Passage. It is going up against number 5, Dinosaur.
Flight of Passage.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
I wish...
Again, like the queue going in.
Oh, my goodness. The
like,
moment you step in Pandora, that ride starts.
Correct.
You know, it's Dinosaur. I will say, I've always, I talk a lot about how Flight of Passage, you don't have to see any Avatar movies. You don't have to even know what an Avatar is, right? You never see these big blue giants. And it sets the ride up so well. Yeah. Dinosaur does too. I don't think Dinosaur gets enough credit for the way it sets up that ride. You know, the reason that you're in the Dino Institute, the reason that you're getting on this ride, the reason that meteors are going to start to strike.
All right.
And then you bring back your Iguanodon. It's pretty impressive. Obviously, Flight of Passage is going to win this one. I hope at maybe when let's see, we had Way of Water, and then what's in it? Fire and something, Fire and Sun or Fire and Earth. I think is the next Avatar movie. I think it's coming out in 3047.
Sure.
So I think we're gonna miss it, unfortunately.
Do you think we'll see them all?
It
is 2020. No, man. I think it's every year.
Yeah. You know, when a lot of times when you sit down, like maybe you're in a job interview and they're like, what's your 5-year plan? It's like they sat down with James Cameron. They're like, what's your 100-year plan for
Yes,
Avatar?
you are correct. Fire and Ash.
Fire and Ash. Okay.
And it is 2025.
2025.
So, and then...
It has a release date, does it not? Or not? I don't know.
A release date?
Yeah. It should if it's 2025,
expected December 19th.
Okay, so December 19th.
And then, honestly, so that's 3, correct?
Yeah.
Your 4 is only 2029, and your 5 is only 2031.
You said only. Do you want to remove that word from your vocabulary?
Why? How old? I mean,
that's 5 years. That's 4 years.
Okay, we're only going to be 50.
No, we'll get to see them all, but I'm saying it is a very long time between
Yes, and I understand that, but you made it sound like we weren't going to be able to see it in our lifetime.
Hey, we could be dead.
Where it is, that's true.
You have no idea.
That's true.
Yeah, Flight of Passage. What I was getting to at that point is I hope they give it what they're going to finally give this, Smuggler's Run treatment, the Star Tours treatment, and go ahead and
start
update
turning them.
Yeah, and update it and do it with Fire and Ash, or if we don't get that, go ahead and do it with Way of Water. And update it. I also would love to see them find a way to remove the 3D glasses. That technology was great when this sucker opened. That 3D technology that they're still using from 5, 6, whatever years ago is starting to not be so great. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
They removed the 3D element over at Kong and Skull Island, over at Islands of Adventure. I don't think they did much else with the changes other than obviously taking the 3D out of the film portion. But I hope that they can figure a way to go, all right, we are going to update not only your scenery and all, but we're going to update and remove these 3D glasses. Yeah. We'll see. All right, so Flight of Passage moves on. Next, we are down to number 3, Kilimanjaro Safaris versus, number 2, Expedition Everest.
I guess I don't care, but honestly, I think Kilimanjaro should win.
If you go by criteria, again, if you go by the end of the game, who had more rebounds, better, turnover to assist ratio, better free throw percentage, 3-point percentage, all that stuff, it is Kilimanjaro Safari, 100%. So we're going to go ahead and go with that.
Okay.
I feel bad for Everest. Dude, you get the Yeti working again. Maybe Everest has a shot.
That's right. I'm like, because I've said, because I don't remember. You need to show me a video. We've talked about this before.
It's insane.
And
I never got to ride it with the working Yeti. I don't believe. I never would have rode in it.
Okay.
With the I never would have. But the videos when you see it are like, dang. I mean, I think it's still impressive by today's animatronic standards. Yeah. So Kilimanjaro moves on. We're down to our Elite 8, and we are headed back to the Magic Kingdom side. And we're going with, I'm pretty sure this is exactly what happened in 2022, to be honest. We're going with number 4, Pirates of the Caribbean versus number 3, Haunted Mansion. I mean, this is classic versus classic.
That's Haunted Mansion, man.
You're going Haunted Mansion. Yeah. I think when we really do look at all the criteria, I have to go with Haunted Mansion as well. I think it Man, it is always our kind of Cinderella team here. I mean, I know it's a 3 seed, which is pretty good, but still, that's, All right, we are going to go down to our EPCOT bracket, and we are doing number 1 Cosmic Rewind versus number 2 Frozen Ever After.
I mean, we're going to have the Cosmic.
Do we?
What?
Again, I'm trying not to go by my favorite ride out of the 2. I'm trying to look at the whole shebang.
Okay.
Shebang.
Compare the queues. I mean,
Cosmic Q is really cool. I don't think Cosmic Q gets enough credit.
I agree.
I really don't think it gets enough credit.
I agree.
I also
when you really listen to them talking and listen to the interviews and look at what's around, I mean, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I love Frozen. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, if you want to put yourself and talk about the criteria and the...
I mean, you have at least 6 times read rideability if you want to get all 6 songs.
100%.
Right? Obviously, it kept a virtual queue longer than any virtual queue has been kept.
100%.
I will say, I don't, as much as I don't think Cosmic gets enough credit for its queue, why? I know why. People don't talk about the story. You're not supposed to. Actually, we can now. They did do a whole song about it where they talked about him through the entire song. It's like a number 1 hit. Like, whatever. People knock Tiana's story. Why do you not knock Frozen's story? Because in my opinion, they're very similar. Right?
Okay. It's Frozen. It's pretty much Frozen. It's Ever After. It's the one where, like, it's pretty much based after that short little thing.
Right. But again, to me, it has a beginning point. It has an end point. The in between, which I do love, is fluff. It doesn't really tell a story as much. I think Tiana's tells more of a story than Frozen Ever After does. Now, you have extremely lovable characters. You have extremely scary projection faces. If we could get an update on that, that would be great. They might as well turn their heads around like Paperboy and Small World Kid.
Ew,
you know what I mean? Just flip them around or just rip the faces off at this point. Turn it into a horror ride.
No.
Okay? Just animatronic eyes popping out.
Oh my God.
So Cosmic is going to move on, I think. But we talked through it. I want to just I don't want to just go pick,
Okay.
All right, let's move over to Hollywood. We got number 1 Rise of Resistance versus number 6 Toy Story Mania.
I'm gonna pick Rise. I mean, you have
look
to,
at your criteria,
right?
You have to.
I mean,
yeah.
I love Toy Story, and it went far.
You would put your money on Rise if you were betting, right? Anybody would.
Yeah.
If we said at the beginning, "Hey, bet on these brackets,"
right? Yeah.
Everybody's going to bet on Rise, so it moves on. All right, we're going down to Animal Kingdom, and we've got number 1 Flight of Passage versus number 3 Kilimanjaro Safari.
Flight.
I know. I think we've made good points for that. So here's our final 4. We got number 3 Haunted Mansion, and we got number 1 Cosmic, number 1 Rise, and number 1 Flight of Passage. So 3 1 seeds and a 3 seed with Haunted.
All right.
We got to move over, and we got to pit Haunted as the 3 seed versus the number 1 seed Cosmic Rewind. And, obviously gut says Cosmic.
Right.
I'm cool with these final rounds with our own. I mean, this is our podcast, so no, but I'm okay with our personal love and all swaying some, which I think for both of us would go towards Haunted.
Absolutely.
So out of these 2,
I'm fine to pick Haunted because I don't think it's going to win out, but I'll pick it.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to win out like it did 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Or however many years ago.
Okay. I can go with that again. I think we talked about it from merch to overall story to lore, as the kids say.
So apparently the lore is the gossip.
Yeah, it's the tea. Yeah,
right.
Instead of like you spill the tea, you're telling the lore.
Right.
That's what they say now.
All right.
These kids are confusing now.
Yes, they are.
This is again. I have to give so many props to teachers. The same way I look at. Because I'm a big basketball fan, I look like at guys like Coach K, who we got to see speak.
And I was just going to say,
he's got to go with the times with his players. Yep. Teachers have to go with the times with these students.
Oh yeah, well, it was funny because he even said how he's getting older and the kids are staying the same age.
I know.
Because they would
Right.
rotate out
Yep.
and the same kids.
Yep.
So, and he literally
And
had to figure out
Yeah.
how to, and he said their attention span and
Yep.
him realizing that I was impressed.
I don't think I mentioned this on the episode that we did, and I just want to bring it up because I thought it was just the coolest line ever that Coach K said when he was asked a question about recruiting and how they recruit players. And he said, "We recruit talent with character. We don't recruit talented characters." I just thought that was such a cool play on words. Absolutely amazing. So we are going to move on Haunted though.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Okay. All right. That's fair. Next, number 1 Rise versus number 1 Flight of Passage.
Rise.
I have to agree. It's Rise of the Resistance, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one person in my entire life that I've met that wasn't impressed with it. He's been my best friend for 40 years.
Rob.
I debated when we got off that ride if that 40 years was worth it. After he said, but that's Rob for you. I love the guy. All right. So we're going in the final in San Antonio, right? We're going number 3 Haunted Mansion versus number 1 Rise of Resistance. Haunted won out in the end,
yeah, they did.
2 years ago.
But I'm going to say Rise on this one. That's why I thought it's not going to win, especially up against Rise and just, and doing all the criteria and B, this
it wins.
ride.
I mean, it wins.
Well, and this ride is not just, I feel like one ride. It's like 2 or 3 rides.
It's an experience.
It so is. Stepping into where you see BB-8 and then Ray, and then you go out into
transfer ship.
I mean, even just going out there, not even getting on the transport ship yet.
Yep.
And seeing BB-8 and getting ready and pose in there, and then you go into the transport ship, and then you come out and you see all
Oh my goodness! When you walk out and see the stormtroopers in that hangar,
that's another part where I'm like, oh my God. And then you go into the interrogation room.
Yep.
I mean,
and even prior to that though, you
just,
have, you have
so much.
It's incredible. I have to agree
and
with all of that.
All the merch around that too, all around, like when you come out to the little shops, to the robes over in the market, to, I mean.
Yeah. And again, as we said, Rise is part of such a bigger picture of Galaxy's Edge.
Yep.
And
there's nothing wrong with that.
Now, I'll be very interested to see, because the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland is part of this New Orleans Square area. So I think
I'm super excited
the overall area is more themed
Maybe
around
we should
it.
Watch Haunted, the newest
we
one.
definitely should watch
before
we
we go.
head to Disneyland several times. I love that.
Maybe
movie.
we should watch it on the plane.
Oh, we could do that. Are you kidding? We'll be
together.
asleep. Probably.
Okay.
You'll sleep most of it.
But it's
all
a
right.
long
We'll put it on the
flight.
plane. We actually ought to break down. We did that episode. I don't know what number it was. It's been a while now. I think it was this past year though, at least. About like what to watch before you visit Walt Disney World, based on what you're going to see. We might want to start coming up with our own list because we're under the 30-day mark.
Yes, we are.
So we don't have much time left.
No.
For us to watch.
4 weeks from today is Easter.
Wow, that's crazy.
And we will be
head
flying home.
Yeah. So wow. Rise of Resistance is our
Congratulations,
2025
Rise.
Walt Disney World March Madness Ride Challenge champion.
Yep.
Oh, that will not fit on a plaque. So that's it for that one. We are going to put this in the show notes. As I said, we will share it on social media. It'll be a downloadable PDF. So you can download it, you can print it out or whatever. You can fill out your bracket. Please share them with us. Yeah. Let us know who your winner is in the end. And we'd love to hear that. So share that on social with @MainSTMagic. As we mentioned before, go out to mainstreet16.com. We have a limited block of rooms at the Drury Inn. They're $179 a night. There are going to be some exclusive events happening only for Drury Inn guests.
And we'll be there.
That's where you want to be. That's where the magic is really happening. And working on this week, we will announce some added bonus and incentives if you stay at the Drury Inn.
All right.
But in order to be counted as that, you do have to book through our wonderful travel advisor, Amy, with MEI Travel. All that is on mainstreet16.com, so you can contact her. She can get you all booked for the weekend. You can sign up for the challenge on Saturday. And hopefully somewhere between that first week or two of April, we're going to announce more details on our Friday scavenger hunt / amazing race through Disney Springs. That's going to be a ton of fun. Of course, if you want all that info, make sure you hit subscribe and you get brand new episodes Tuesday and Friday. And while you're out there, both Rhonda and I and everyone on Rise of Resistance would be super thankful if you could please leave us a rating and review.
Because it helps our show grow.
That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.